Hello and welcome to RPG Research and our weekly electronic role-playing game and brain-computer interface development weekly team meeting. This is Saturday, January 23rd. We meet from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time each week right here. So let's go ahead and Valerie, I need to check in with the new fellow here, Ben. So if you can kind of just
Okay.
do what you can on your end, and I'll come check back in. And then again at
Okay.
11, I have to, because we got new people, I got to jump out, in and out. I'll be in and out at 11, but I got to check in with this fellow here. So if you can kind of do the roll call and make sure everybody's checking in into Odoo, because we're really seeing a discrepancy in people's hours in who's checking in and not checking in. And when we start getting real money coming in, there's legal ramifications for not doing a better job tracking volunteer hours. So we really need people to do a good job of doing their attendance, checking in these meetings. And remember, you can always go and manually edit your attendance and add those hours if you need to. For now, we're trusting people for now. Eventually, what's going to happen is the team leads will be the only ones who can do that. But everybody, make sure you check into Odoo and get those hours in. And then Valerie, take it away, and I'll be back as soon as I can.
Okay. Um, and in terms of the attendance, if you guys aren't sure how to edit your hours, I only recently got permission to do that. So if you guys don't have permission to do it or aren't sure how to do it, you can just shoot me a message on Odoo and I'll edit it for you.
Cool.
So we'll go ahead, run through kind of roll call here. So, Zach,
Yep, I'm here.
Drake,
I'm here.
Trevor,
Sorry, yes, I'm here.
Luke,
I'm here.
and Doug.
Here.
And Dario told me he was going to be a little bit late today, but he will be checking in shortly. So in terms of what we're covering today, we were going to go through some more wireframing once Huck is back. We have some topics of discussion we can kind of go over. First of all, Drake, how caught up on what we're doing are you, or are you like not really sure where we're at, what we're doing?
I've had some verbal introductions from my dad, but could definitely use a rundown from your guys' perspective.
Okay. So, let me double check that you're in shared. Right now, we have a shared drive that has all of our technical specification documents, executive summaries, etc. I'm just making sure that we have that shared with you so that you can access those whenever. Essentially, what we're working on here is if you've played Neverwinter Nights, we're making a similar application. We want to be able to create an RPG. What we're hoping to do is be able to have like one main story that can be translated into multiple genres so that people who aren't so into fantasy or sci-fi can choose some other genre that suits their needs. The goal of this software application that we're creating is to kind of help guide behavior. So, we're guiding people towards less violent tendencies, away from combat towards problem solving and communication, working with people. Obviously, that's all going to be done through a game. So we have a 3-phase system that we're doing here. We first created the game in Neverwinter Nights in the Aurora toolset. That we're still essentially done with. We're filling out a little bit more. So it's not 100% playable right now, but we should have that done soonish. We're now on phase 2, which is we are creating basically just the wireframes, the flows, and text only. So the end goal of phase 2 is to have basically just like a text game. And then phase 3, we're going to add graphics of some sort. So we haven't really decided if it's going to be animated or if we're going to do one of those games where it's just a series of video clips based on decisions. But that's the end goal, is to have some kind of graphical input with the story flow. So right now what we're working on is wireframes of the logic, basically, that's going to go into all of the decisions and all of the branches in this project. Are you on our GitHub?
Yeah, I have access to it.
Okay.
We're pulled up.
So we're basically, there should be a folder in there called wireframes, and that's every bit of logic that we have created so far. We're doing it on diagrams.net. I'm still grabbing your email. Okay. So I'm sharing the Google folder with you. You should surely have access to basically every document we created. In terms of what we can discuss right now, we have 3 topics that we can kind of pick which of the 3 we want to discuss as a group and kind of hammer out. So the first is options for syncing the kind of Mad Lib style substitution for genre words. Second is how we're going to organize the module editor in the game creation section. And the third is just kind of discussing and solidifying how our kind of Mad Libs themes will work. Does anyone have a preference on what we tackle first?
I'm
Got a
down
lot of
for
Hawks D3s laying around.
I'm down for anything. I don't mind.
Okay, does anyone have a strong preference?
When you say like when we organize, how we're gonna organize our module thing? Does that mean like how we're gonna organize like the assets and stuff we have for people
Right.
to use? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
But I thought we decided upon JSON, at least for now, right?
no, I think like they were thinking of like categories to sort all them in. is
Oh,
what
so
you
not
said.
the actual storage, just like
Yeah, not
what
the storage,
data-
but like
Right.
how we want to like sort all the assets and stuff we'll let people eventually use to create their own modules.
So basically, I have here entity-based or theme-based, which were the 2 arguments that we had last time we discussed this. And we didn't really get into this much, so there's not a lot leaning either direction. I believe the Aurora toolset has entity-based organization.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, I guess, before we split up into a little deeper, is do we want the other modules to have access to the other themes? Even if they pick a theme to create their module in, do we still want them to have access to the other entities in another genre? Because if that's the case, then we should just probably do entity based, because it would just be simpler. There would be a lot less storage for us. We'll just categorize everything as entities and there's whatever section they're in, and we just give them the appropriate names or whatever. So, but if we want them to like truly be theme based and stick with the one theme, then maybe they just load a preset theme, and then they'll have access to the entities in that, but maybe not for the rest of the other genres. So, you guys get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I, for one, think it might be a little bit limiting to only, if you choose a theme or genre, to only have access to that genre's assets.
Yeah, I feel the same
That
way.
make
The
time
only-
travel settings almost impossible.
Yeah.
True. The only reason why I like bring that kind of solution up is because of like limit hardware or like our own software limitations at first, at least. Of course, we'd always implement it like later, but like you know, on our side for implementation, at least for like um, just for the prototype that we're making, we may not be able to include all of that. Which is why that's because I'm also for not limiting them and the kind of module they want to make. I'd rather have them have access to everything, but it may be like a limitation on our end, at least at first when we first make anything. We may not be able to include everything. So maybe that will be like a stepping stone we use. I don't know for sure. I mean, it depends on you guys, I guess.
Another option is to not even have stuff genre based when it's in the editor. So if we create, weapon one and then give it statistics, but allow the people who are creating the module to name it, that might kind of erase the need for a theme based organization.
I was thinking something more like that.
Especially since the modules that people create are not gonna, since we're not doing like a 3D, that was never in the plan to have 3D graphics, it really, the modules that other people create would be purely text unless they create their own graphics for it. So there would be no, I don't know, there's no need to have a specific genre assigned to certain weapons because you wouldn't even see what the weapon looks like.
Oh yeah, true.
If I may say what I was thinking with this, I was thinking maybe we break down weapons into the most generic types of weapons as possible. So like melee, ranged, magic air quotes. It could be technology. We can say it's like those kind of weapons, right? And we have some preset ones for our themes, like our sci-fi or fantasy. But then it's super easy just for people to make custom ones using the same framework. So if they want to do their own user-generated content, that's their responsibility, and they'd have the tools to do it.
Sure. Yeah, I think that would probably be a lot easier.
I think Luke makes a good point with that.
I'd be down
And
for that. And
you
I
could
think
like
it
make
makes
it
the
an
most
object
sense.
too, so like they inherit everything if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So then how? So we would just do entity, then, right? That sounds
Right.
like we're all cut for entity, not theme.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that idea.
Okay. So then I guess that does sort of cover how Mad Lib's theme. Well, I suppose there's more. So we should then discuss how the kind of substitution / Mad Lib's theme will work within the story, because obviously for objects that we're putting in, we've kind of just discussed how that would work, but for other elements of the story that don't have statistics,
Like
there even
objects, it's like the wagon would be a car or like a spaceship or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there would even be a need to discuss further. Well, I guess for the story that we're creating. Yeah, so if we don't have, if it's something that doesn't have statistics to be used in the game, how are we kind of creating this Mad Libs-esque thing to work within? I guess it would be mainly within the story that we are creating that needs to be substitutable into different genres.
Mm, well, I mean, we could just have like a. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of like dictionaries and keys, like as a data structure, but like we could just do something like that. We could have a text file full of words or stuff we'd want them to use, and then we can just we could do it like that, and we'll just have different text files for each different theme, and then whichever one is chosen, that's the text file to use, and it'll basically just um, uh, use whatever. Well, that might be too complicated. I'm not sure. I feel like that would be the simplest solution, but
It might not be complicated enough if the sentences don't really make sense. If you just switch out a few words.
What's that?
I was
Yeah,
thinking, what about grammar?
I have to check in with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that might be
like-
an issue.
What if like vowels and stuff change? We might have to like write functions to correct grammar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Like, let's say an object didn't have a vowel at the beginning, but now it does.
Right. A and an. Yeah.
When you include the a/an as part of the word, so
You could do that.
What about like non-countables and countables? So you have a word like bacon. I don't think there's a plural version of bacon, right? Bacons. So
I'm gonna start using that.
it would mess up the whole sentence.
You may want to use a database, and have singular, plural,
Like a boolean or something to control that.
because then each different column in your, so whatever you've got, you can assign different names for all the different genres you want, tie them together to the same statistics or whatever.
Well,
I mean, obviously, it won't be true for everything. Every genre won't have an exact match, but
true. Well, that's kind of like what the dictionary data structure is. Kind of, it's like a mini database without actually like using one. But since we are planning on having one anyway, might as well use it. So, yeah, grammar I can see could definitely be like a huge issue with the way I set with my idea. So.
If the game's not going to be that long, like I don't know how long we're wanting to make it. It's not going to be like a 40-hour game or anything. I think it would be reasonable just to have whole text for each theme. I don't think that's going to be too much work.
True. If it's not a very long game, then I guess the real question then, if we do it like that, then where does the customization come in? Like for each module, do we just do it similar to Neverwinter Nights, where we kind of just let them create their own text file, or
Make a JSON file. Because and even if we had to like make a little like Word doc, that's like how to edit JSON for new people to it, right? Like that might be an option.
So we're, growing pains, lots and lots of.
yeah, we could do that.
In my poor office, 'cause it's like this
I guess that's more like.
piled high. This is
Guess that would be more like Hawks kind of have the final say, or at least have a say on it, because I remember him saying something like, was it JSON he was having problems with, like security issues, or was it XML?
Yeah, I think for now we want to use JSON for storing our data for now.
Yeah.
And then once we have deployment, we might switch to like XML or a MySQL, something like that, just to store it. But just to get it.
Doesn't like the JSON just as far as end user
Kendall
experience.
Yard's property owners
Yeah.
donate that space to them for free.
I mean, you can still
Just
do the
getting
same
somebody
thing
who's
with
like, yeah, I got this. Well, it doesn't have to be
MySQL
fancy. We
and
just
yeah,
have a house that's not too
XML.
far from
So
bus lines.
it's just a different process.
We want
But
the community to be able to get there. The closer
still,
the bus lines, the better.
I think what
Um, And
I think we should have
then
them
we can also
create their
expand our
own
community programs again.
file and
because
stuff like that, but
as COVID
And there also
transitions,
are
et
like
cetera,
JSON and
we
XML
always were running,
parsers
like
built
Smart
into
Central can only
Godot,
handle a
so that
maximum of 5
it
tables.
might not be as hard as we're thinking it to be.
What's that?
okay.
We could
Oh, no,
pretty
I
easily
thought you
write an interface just for
Oh,
the users
sorry.
to create JSON files from a very basic text editor.
True, we could do that. I completely forgot that.
Just use that CIN input C++ stuff.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, all right. So maybe that's not as complicated as I was thinking at first. But yeah.
The grammar is still gonna suck no matter what. Like no matter
Well, I
what
mean-
approach we take.
Yeah, there's always like we'd have to be really careful with grammar. There's gonna be a lot of proofreading.
And this is just for English. Like we don't even have a localization team under like
Oh,
Daria.
yeah.
You can localize for your language probably, but like you know say
Yeah, my Spanish is not that great. Just gonna but yeah, so if that's how we want to do it. So then when people go to create their own modules, we'll just create an interface where they'll basically make their own JSON file or XML or SQL or whatever. It doesn't matter, but we'll just have them create their own. Here's the actually, yeah, okay. So is that how we want to do it? Because I mean, it sounds like it would work for me. It would be a little more work from us, but it'd make things simpler in the end, I guess.
I think that is the mantra of how we've been doing most stuff. More
Yeah.
work for us, less work for the people playing the game.
because we just want the users to have fun. We don't want them to have like a computer science degree just to play the game.
Yeah.
And if they're, working, if they're using a brain computer interface, then, some of this stuff's not going to be very practical for them to do. So we might as well just add in some systems that'll kind of streamline this for them.
And honestly, this point of genre substitutions might be completely, well, not completely moot, but relatively moot for players creating things, because they're not creating games for everyone. They're creating games for their group, right? So their group, they would have an idea of what genre to go with for their group, whereas we have to design in different genres to appeal to everybody. So that genre substitution thing may be in a lot less use than we think for players who are designing their own.
That being said, though, maybe like a community member might like this genre, but they like, or like they might like the module and be like, okay, I don't like sci-fi, but I love like, let's say Wild West, whatever, right? So they can go in there and replace all the laser guns with 6 shooters and all that. That's up to them.
Okay. I mean, yeah, because I guess that really depends on like the art and stuff. Because right now, like, I'm only kind of thinking text-based. Like, how is this going to look? Because I'm not a big art person. I don't know. I don't know.
I can't draw stick figures, so I can't give a comment on that one.
Yeah. So.
And part of it is we haven't even discussed like the graphics and stuff.
Yeah. So maybe we not think. Maybe I'm.
Yeah. Leave that for phase 3. Leave that in the next phase where it belongs.
Yeah.
Just changing genres could be.
Hello.
Go on.
Hello.
Hello.
Howdy.
All right,
So
sorry,
you got a lapel.
Sorry, I
So
didn't mean to
changing
interrupt you. Go
genres
ahead.
can be as simple as just them editing a file or creating a new file that inherits from that ranged weapon.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
We did have something. I'm trying to remember what it was. When we were talking about how are we going to get people to write this data?
Right, which
Oh yeah,
data?
we were so we were I believe we were talking about how when we were going to swap genres or something, or no, it was when we want people to create their own modules and they're going to make their own like conversations similar to in
Neverwinter Nights.
Neverwinter Nights.
Mhm.
How do we want them to say or create their own? So we were thinking like maybe like have a. So I think who was it? Drake, right? He said to create an interface for them that would that they could write in, and then that would create their own like a JSON file or XML, or I don't really remember which we were going with, but would create their own file, and then they could use that. But
Kind of like a wizard, kind of like how like Neverwinter
Yeah.
Nights is like the programming wizard.
Right. No, we were using Neverwinter Nights. That's the reason why you guys learned Neverwinter Nights, is to give you an idea. We don't want to, directly rip it off, but we can use those concepts with our own flavor, but use that approach, right? The Aurora tool set is a good guide of what we want for our tool set, even though we're not going to be identical. It gives us a guide.
Yeah, because if it's nice to have, it's still nice to have.
Exactly.
No matter who made it.
And a reminder, because maybe it's gotten a little confused. The game has to be brain-computer interface compatible. The play part. The tool making does not.
Okay.
I've said that a couple of times. Yeah, I've said it a couple of times. So let's make that stick. The players need to be able to play the game with just the brain-computer interface. The game creator, that's a full UI. That's a full GUI. The tool set, the Aurora-like tool set, whatever we want to call our tool set, that's a full GUI. We are not assuming BCI for that at all. Full mouse, drag and drop, etc. So there's no limitations. You're not stuck with dialog boxes only. Tool set, completely different use case. I mean, I would love it if we could make a completely brain controlled. I mean, how awesome would that be? It would literally be the Lawnmower Man, where he's going with his brain and right, and assembling it in a virtual space. I do have a dream for that someday. I would love for that to happen. And I do hope, remember at phase 5 or 6, we do integrate VR into this. And I would love to integrate a VR tool creation environment. How awesome would that be with the drag and drop VR? I mean, I
know Unreal has that. For level
no,
design.
it's not original, but it'd be awesome to create one of our own.
No doubt.
And if we could tie that back in with BCI in some way, even better. So just to be really clear again, gameplay by the players must be fully BCI compatible, so that somebody in locked-in state or complete locked-in locked-in syndrome or complete locked-in state, LIS-CLS, can play with just their brain. All of the tools for creating the modules and such, that's just normal user environment. No major. We'll do what accessibility considerations we can for font and things like that, but we are assuming somebody who can use a mouse and use a keyboard, even if it's just one finger hunt and peck or something, they will have a mouse and keyboard interface later on, hopefully a VR interface for creation and all. So was that what you guys were trying to figure out, is how the heck you're going to make that work with just a BCI?
We weren't really discussing BCI in terms of the game creation part of it.
The text only part?
Right. We were mostly discussing actually the game creation aspects of it. Okay. So we had 2 topics of discussion. The first was how we were going to organize things in the module editor.
Okay.
What we came to was that we wanted to break down entities into most generic information. So basically just like statistics, and then allow users to customize the name of that entity, so that we weren't storing like, oh, here's a revolver and here's a laser gun. It's just, here is weapon A and it has these statistics, name it what you want.
Yeah.
Like you have like a ranged type of weapon, or like magic air quotes, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Something like that.
You got it. Yep, so you can swap out the variables easily.
The second thing we discussed was kind of more how the Mad Libs theme would work in terms of game creation, especially on the player end, which is where we brought in kind kind of having players create their own little database doc to kind of substitute things in and out.
Wait, what? For the players?
So when they're creating their own game, so not while they're playing the game, but if they, a player,
Okay,
not
so
us, but a player decides.
let's separate roles clearly. Players do not create games in our role separation. For our use cases, we have to have clearly defined roles. So under roles, we have players, we have game masters, and we have module creators, mod writers. And then I guess we also have game system contributors. And then we, of course, have our software dev. All of that. So those are our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roles, right? As far as when we're considering use cases, we want to make sure we're clear about which roles we're assigning what. So players should only have, install or access the game, host the game, an existing mod that they just like Neverwinter Nights, right? And play the game, and then within that there's the parameters of what a player can do. Game masters can do all the same things as a player, except that when they play the game, they're playing as a game master, right? Rather than and they of course have all the features of controlling NPCs and monsters and possession and all those things. The mod writers are the ones who actually write the adventures. Now, it may be great that there's a player, GM, mod writer all in one, but for the sake of our documentation and project progression, we want to keep these roles as clearly distinct separate entities so that our use cases don't get all muddied up. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the mod writers, that's what you're talking about then, right? It was how
Yes.
the game creation mod writers. Okay. Then we have game system contributors. Those are the people who, so for example, we're going with what OpenD6 is our default system initially. We're going to have to do data entry for that layer, get all the OpenD6 stuff in there that talks to our abstracted game. You're going to have people who, like I did this back with Sweet GM, where I just had people doing raw data entry of Rollmaster and MERP and D&D into my system, and that became a game system plugin that then you could use with my ETT at the time. That was all in Java long ago. So you're going to have game system contributor people who all they do is try to get that game system piece, all those pieces in there that talk to our abstracted game system layer. And then we have our software development team, so that's our 5 major roles. Are there any other roles you guys can think of that are major roles? And we can break these down into sub roles, but as far as the top roles, think of any others that we're missing?
QA.
That's part of, we'll just call that under the software dev team.
Yeah.
So we can break down under these, but as far as the top hierarchy for each. If you think of another one, let me know. So you were talking then about mod writers, is that correct?
Yep.
Or whatever we want to call them. Okay. Now that I'm less confused, because you have me really confused about the players writing JSONs and doing game, like what? Okay, so mod writers, you were talking about them doing the Mad Libs, and go ahead and clarify.
Right. So what we had basically, what I wrote down here was that it might be reasonable to have whole text for each theme. Then we were discussing how we would allow for customization. So we were talking about using our data storage, but with kind of a guide included for the mod creators to create their own file to use for substitution of genre-specific elements.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're trying to figure out how we were going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is again something that would be, before you get too locked in on the UI, you need to figure out what the process would be. So this would be something where you'd open up draw.io and you'd have your role is mod writer or whatever. What do you guys want to call the person who writes the modules? Anybody have a preferred title?
Well, it's not GM. 'Cause
It's not GM.
quite the same.
We're talking about the game writer, the module writer. What do you want to call them? The problem with game writer is that's confusing, I think. What's that?
Storyteller?
No,
Storyteller?
they're not the storyteller.
Module authors.
That's the thing.
And
Module
story
author,
writers.
module writer, adventure writer. Keep going.
Let's see.
I had
Module editions.
I had an old employee. They had a whole company they created. I think they're gone now, but they created adventures and modifications for Half-Life, and they called themselves mod gods.
I love that. Not gonna lie.
I wonder if they're still around.
Is that copyrighted? Just curious.
Well, that's I'm curious because he went on to create Smug Mug, and he's the CEO of Smug Mug. So I don't know that he's had kept that going.
I found God mods.
I see the mod gods. That looks
Is it
like that
copyrighted?
might
Air
be the
quotes?
same. Well, it's not copyright, it's trademark, but
Yeah,
it
that
looks-
doesn't look like it is.
I see the mod gods, and it looks like they are still doing this is video game modding, but they have not been active since 2007. And again, we're not talking. So as long as there's no trademark issue, what do you guys think of mod gods? Because they're world building.
That sounds funny.
You
I
know what?
like
I'd
it.
be down for that. I would love to be called that.
And even if that is trademarked, we can just use it internally.
Right, and it's
Yeah,
not.
like,
Yeah, but I mean, I just want to. If you guys like it, and it's descriptive. When I say mod god, there's no confusion. What we're talking about here, we're talking about people who write the modules and create the worlds and the adventures that Bales plays in. I think that has a nice and a great alliteration. You guys good with that?
I like it.
Yeah, I think it
It's dope.
Okay.
makes me chuckle every time I hear it.
Okay.
I'm down for that. I'm down for that 100%.
So is that unanimous? Did anybody who feels otherwise? I'm totally open on this. Okay, I guess
No
we
way,
got.
they should totally be called mod gods.
What's that?
They should totally be called mod gods. That
Awesome.
sounds so funny.
All right, we're gonna call them mod gods. It's official. Anybody who's writing the modules, the adventures for this game, they're mod gods. I love it. All right. So let it be written. So let it be done. So the mod gods need to figure out. We need to figure out their flow process. Now, do we want to jump out of our gameplay process? Well, actually, here's what I would suggest. While I've got my remaining 14 minutes before I have to jump in and out, let's get back to our play process and nailing that down. Then when I have to leave, why don't you guys start a new flow for the mod god creation process? So you have the mod god.
Like
they load up
a
the
whole new file.
What's that?
A whole new draw.io just for that.
Yes, that'll be a whole new draw.io file for the mod god for process. And so you will start with load the adventure or module creation tool, right?
Tool.
Yeah, mod god tool, whatever you want to call it. That would be the beginning of that draw, and then you go to name it and just do the same thing I've been doing with you with the play, but now do it with the creation process. And feel free to use the Aurora toolset as a rough guide. Now, again, we're doing things differently than Neverwinter Nights, so it will not be identical. It's meant to be the training wheels to help you guys logic through this process. So it would not hurt you to have the Aurora toolset up and go through the process of how do I start Aurora toolset? What does it ask me? I name the module, I name the, right? That whole step, we need to flow chart those, but in the way that makes sense to our game. Does that help you guys?
Yep.
So I would recommend while I'm away, because I'll be popping in and out because these admin meetings, start on that at 11, after your break. Start working on the mod god flow process. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
And you guys don't need me for all of that. You'll need me to come back in and sanity check it, but you guys can figure out a lot of that on your own now that you've got an idea of the process.
Who's gonna do the draw.io part?
Yeah, well,
Ooh,
you
any
know, we
volunteers?
roll that. We get to roll that each time. Drake, you need to have draw.io. Oh,
All I have is the web app, but that's okay. I'll install it.
okay.
It's just a D6.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't think you need to install it. I used
Yeah,
the
it's
website.
online.
Yeah, you can do it online, either or.
Diagrams.net.
Well, yeah. Okay, so so we got a roll to see who turn it is today. And if you guys can continue this without me, so much the better. I think you guys all have the process down. Finding these flaws. Any of you have I think some of you have an electronic copy of the book. So here's the thing.
Of which book?
This job with a learning mate is going to be 60 hours a week for a while. So we've got to make sure all the teams have more autonomy. I will try to attend on Saturdays and Sundays all these meetings, but there will be days that I'm just going to be overloaded, or at least need some sleep. So I want to make sure you guys are, as long as you get this process down. And I'll be coming in, and we're gonna get some project management tools in place. We're gonna get all this improved as I get back into this headspace myself. What was the choice we stopped at, Valerie?
We were still on 303, the levers.
We were still working through that whole because it created a
because
dilemma.
we had never run the objections. We finished.
Right.
I think we finished kind of running.
All right.
Process.
So here we are, Drake. This is a whole flow process here. So we got to determine who is going to be running it this time. So on my screen, I've got Zach, Valerie, Luke, Drake, Trevor, Doug, Dario. All right. Seven. Where's my 7-sided die? I love that I can say that.
You have a 7-sided die.
Remember, I've got all these odd-sided. Oh, is that Drake that said that? Yeah, I got this whole set is odd-sided dice. Or it's a mixture of it. It's got the regular, and so I've got a 5-sided die, 9 sides. Really quite clever how they worked it out. Maybe not a 7. Yeah, I do. It's going to be close to the 8. I did have a 7-sided die. It looks like it might have gotten lost already. 5-sided. Yeah, maybe that's it. There it is. Oh, wait, no, it's 9-sided. All right, Hawk, you don't have time for this. All right. There it is. There's the 7-sided. It's a totally mutated thing. All right, number 3. That would be Luke. Oh wait, who did it last time? Because I actually forgot to remove from the pool.
I believe it's Dario, right?
Yeah, I went last time, but I think Luke went right before me.
So
I went to the meeting before.
And then Trevor was maybe before Luke.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have my.
I have excluded from non-combat decisions Doug, Dario, and Trevor.
Well, that's
from wireframing Trevor and Dario.
This is just for the. This is the problem with not having it in a computer, as I've forgotten. I've dumped my cache. All right, so just let who has not done it in a while?
Wireframed once.
What's that?
I was asking if everybody's wireframed once.
Yeah, this is our second iteration.
Yeah, so
Who's
Trevor and Dario are excluded from wireframing this round.
All right, Trevor and Dario, great. All right, so that's what I needed to know. So Luke, go ahead.
Okay, I'll pull that up one sec.
Great, and then of course screen share. All right.
Non-combat, you said?
Yes, this is the non-combat decision making, and of course it's got the objection process that we were working out for Drake's benefit. What's that?
Did we push a new one since our last meeting?
I hope so. We should have. Did who was doing it last? Dario, did you upload it?
I remember doing so.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull that one.
So go ahead and pull it.
But just to jump in here, it came down as an XML for me, so I'm not sure.
That's how they usually do it, I thought, with Draw.io.
Yeah, I think it is an XML.
Well, it's showing it's a different file format on mine, but maybe.
Okay. Good question. I haven't tried to pull it from source, so repository. I'm going to refresh this again, 303, because what happened was everybody had an objection to the choice because it was going to be Trevor who made the choice. He made a choice and everyone went, wait, because he had not been here the week that some key information was given. And this brought up a use case that we hadn't considered that we're trying to work out, and then thankfully we haven't written code yet. So 303, you arrive at the end of the passage where it meets another going east-west, but an iron portcullis blocks your way and no amount of charging is going to budge it. On the wall to your right are 2 levers, and it seems likely that these levers have something to do with raising the portcullis. Do you wish to pull the right lever or the left lever? And which one did Trevor choose there, Valerie?
He had chosen the left, and so we were running objections for the people who
said no, because they had some information that Trevor didn't have. And so this is an important use case throughout a game. We don't want a voting system where it's the tyranny of the majority, but we do want people to feel like they actually have a little bit of agency and say about their character when they feel like it matters more. So when they think that a choice is going to put them in jeopardy or make an alignment choice, for a moral decision that they're against, so like running up and stabbing the prisoner, you can opt out of taking that action while the other proceeds ahead. And so we're using an objection system rather than a voting system. Or at least we're trying to create that. Okay, so here's our flow for this.
Sorry about the 4x3. I kind of have a problem collecting old monitors.
I got 20 of them in my workshop. All right, so go ahead and scroll down to the objection quadrant.
Objection, here we go.
What's that whole lower right and right side is all objection.
I might have to zoom out a bit.
Yeah, don't go much more because I won't be able to see any of it if you do. This works for now. You'd scroll down a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Right there. Right there. Okay, so we come in, user makes game decision. In this case, Trevor chose the left lever. We do I forgot what parameter check stands for. Check your, this is the objection threshold parameter check. So phrase that parameter check as objection notification threshold parameter check.
In the triangle?
Yes. Objection notification threshold parameter check. Does that make more sense to everybody?
Wait, is this the risk or the risk?
This is the notification. Just that if the risk factor is there, do I get notified or not? Did I set it that I'm notified all the time, or only if it's above a certain risk level?
Okay.
So this is that notification parameter check. Do I get up? Then check user preferences for objections, risk flagging. Right. That's what that's about. Exceeds risk threshold? No. Then it just wait. Yeah, then it just goes to taking action, goes into the take action process. Yes, UI presents choice related to objection, yes or no. Okay, so going down, invoke individual players' preferences for countdown timer to object. So that's counting down with the presentation, again, based on their preferences. To the right, if any PCs object, if they say no, then go ahead and just take action and go to 14A. If they say yes, we run decision maker is shown the number of objections. They are then asked, do you want to start a group discussion? If they say no, continue on with choice, and it goes on into the wait queue. Wait queue for doing action. So now that user who made the choice is waiting in the wait queue. If they instead say, yeah, let's start a group discussion. So that breaks out to group discussion chat. Then everybody debates what they will, whether it's Discord or our own chat or however the interface matter is irrelevant for this process. And then once the decision is made, do you continue with same choice? Yes. Then PC participates in choice. They go into the wait queue as a yes. Do you not, if you say no to continue with choice, PC does not participate in choice. They go into the wait queue, but as a no. And that then goes into the temporary exclusion sub-process, whole system there. And those who said yes to continue with the action, it takes place. Those who said no, their PC steps back or whatever we feel is appropriate, but they do not participate in that action. Which means if it was an immoral action, they don't get shadow points or whatever, for example. If it was charging into a room versus staying in the hallway, if people are being attacked in the room or a trap is in the room, the people who went in the room are affected by the trap. The person who waited outside is not affected by the trap.
I have a quick question.
Please.
Are we assuming players are verbal?
Are verbal?
As in they can speak?
Only if they break out into a group discussion chat. Everything else is a pop-up. Remember, this is all brain-computer interface controlled. Everything is text-based with a text dialogue right now in phase 2. Phase 3 we had graphics. What's that?
If they use like a Discord or something, wouldn't they also have other options of communication if they are not verbal, like text chat, emojis, stuff like that?
Yeah, that all gets outside of our scope. Our assumption is, unless they break out to a group chat, everything needs to be, for now, text-based and BCI compatible. Right? We break out of our BCI mandate when they break into a discussion group. They may have the tools to make it work, but that gets, remember, we didn't want to get bogged down in creating a BCI chat interface because that in and of itself is a massive project, right? Where you can type with your brain, right?
Yeah.
or type and then it does a Stephen Hawking, from text to voice and all of that. That is not
goes through all the letters. Stop.
Yes, exactly. So that's why we break that out as a separate thing rather than it's outside of our scope.
Okay.
But we try to keep as much as possible where it's just through a simple menu-driven option 1, 2, or 3. With the BCI, they can scroll up and down and select, and that's all they have to do. That's the whole interface in phase 2. You want to catch up by reading our scope docs on our website on that. Yeah, that's the assumption for all of this. It's all menu driven. So did anybody think of any other issues left? It feels like that flow worked. Did we miss anything, anybody?
I do have a question.
Please.
Should this be its own flow diagram?
We should probably make it a bit, this whole thing should be the objection sub-process and become its own diagram, yes. But for the moment, it was helpful for us to have it all on one page for the whole flow.
And we can just copy it into another one easily.
Really, this whole diagram should actually be broken into a high-level diagram that just lists like 4 or 5 boxes that are all sub-processes that you drill down. But we can get into that later. We for now, having this big picture helps us with our flow. When you have to jump from flow to flow, it gets a little trickier. But we will, in the final version, break these out into more object-oriented pieces and stuff. Anything else? And again,
so when people opt out and like they don't participate in a choice, should that be its own process as well later on? Like, well, I guess it'd be case by case basis.
But that's what the weight, yeah. So you'll see each of these boxes with the extra lines, those are their own little sub processes or sub functions that we have not yet defined how they work exactly. It's just a big box that is a general concept. We'll have to drill down later into each of those.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so as far as we know for now, this flow appears to work. So let's play it through, and then I'll have to step out. But at least we'll finally move on. So, Trevor, you wanted to pull the left.
This is correct.
Who objected in the chat room for excuse me, I need to get a water bottle. In the chat room, indicate if you object or agree. Doug objects. Luke agrees. Valerie objects. Dario agrees.
Well, I'll just object for the sake of it. So.
Okay. All right. So we've got a nice little mix here. That's great. All right. So those of you who object, we then move to UI presents choice. So how many is, let's see, we got 1,
3 objections.
all right, so we got 3 objections. Okay, 3 to 3. Excellent. That makes it even easier for the poor guy to decide. But that's great. So we see 3 objections popped up. You get a little pop-up text message that says 3 people object. Decision maker is shown the number of objections. So let's just assume everybody right now has the threshold set to the lowest, that you automatically get an objection prompt, because we've already established how we can keep that from being by setting a parameter. We'll just assume everybody right now wants to be annoying. Do you want to start a group discussion? Trevor, do you want to participate in a group discussion?
Yes, I would like to.
Okay, so you break out into a group discussion. So you go into it, and there's a little prompt to everybody else. Break out into group discussion. Doug, do you want to break out into a group discussion? Or join it?
No.
You do not. You just want to object without discussion. Is that correct?
Silent objection.
Great, that's fine. Okay, Luke, do you want to break out into discussion, or just stick with your agree?
I stick with my agreement.
Okay, so you're going, so that means, somebody write this down, Valerie. Doug is waiting in the queue as a no action PC, as objection. Luke is in the queue going along with the action. Valerie, do you want to break out discussion, or just stick with your decision?
I'm gonna discuss.
Okay, so you're in the breakout room. Dario, do you want to discuss it, or just stick to your decision?
I'll discuss. And I would like to say that I didn't know this was for everyone. I thought only in this case Trevor would be the one that has the power to start a group discussion. So this is actually pretty cool that we're going through this.
Okay, so make a note in the bottom. It says, do you want, make a little side annotation that says each player gets to decide whether they go into discussion or wait queue.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought it was
Okay.
just Trevor.
Yes,
The
that's good to
decision's
clarify.
up to him.
No, as I
He's
said, I'm
making it.
all about individual agency, that if you're really not happy with it, you shouldn't be dragged kicking and screaming, against your will.
Yeah, so it's cool that you can object, but choose not to go in the
Yeah,
discussion.
like you don't want to get into it. You don't want to feel like you're being bullied or pressured or any of that.
But you still have a vote. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
cool.
You have a voice if you want it, and you can just stick with your decision if you want, and that's your free agency within the limitations of this design, without the tyranny of the majority through the majority vote system. Right? Because again, we're trying to make this a very simple interface, as opposed to like Nowhere Nights, where you can just move your character like, hey, I'm not going to do it. Right? We have a limited interface here, so we have to create this kind of logic to work around that limited interface. Okay, gets to allowed to start a group chat or stick by their decision and go to wait queue. All right. So Dario, did you want to join the discussion or go to the wait queue?
I'll join the discussion.
Okay, Drake.
I will join the discussion.
Okay, Zach.
I'll join the discussion.
Okay, so everybody make a note of who's in the discussion and who is in the wait queue, and what your decision is on that wait queue. So we go to the breakout discussion, whether it's voice chat or text chat or whatever. You guys go have your discussion. Let's go ahead. Those of you who are in the discussion thing. So Trevor, you decided to go straight to the wait queue.
Yes.
Okay, so you will not be involved in this decision-making process. And you guys will notice that the decider is not in this meeting.
Well, I think this is important stuff to like test out. Like,
Exactly.
what if
No,
the-
I think it's great. I think it's great. So you guys are in here and you're like, well, we wanted to convince him, but he's decided he's going to stick by his guns. What do we want to do? Because you've got both agreeers and objectors. And now you guys can make persuasive arguments for those who want to have a discussion. And we go through that process. So we don't have time for the full argument, but just very briefly, Doug, why do you object?
I'm actually not in the room. I was testing that too.
Oh, I'm
so-
sorry. Okay, Luke, are you in the room?
Luke is staying as well.
Okay,
So
Valerie.
yeah,
Why do you object?
Because we freed in prison guy and he said you have to pull the right lever to open the door. So I don't know what the left lever does,
Great.
but I assume it's a trap.
Okay, good. So that's Valerie's argument. Dario?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor should have been here, so this is what he gets for not being here
So
when
you-
we were there.
So are you changing?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason. Another part of the reason, the guy could be deceiving us. We don't know that.
Sure.
So
What
if
if we are supposed to
left,
find
if his gut
Yeah.
wanted to choose the left lever, we're going to go with the left one.
Okay, so Dario, have you decided to change your decision or stick by your current decision?
I'm sticking with my decision.
All right, so you're still going to go with the left one. All right, Drake.
I believe that we have an idea what going right means, so let's pull the left lever.
So you want to do it because you don't know. You want to find out. Oh, Drake, my son. Yes, that makes sense.
It says not to go here, so I must go here.
Yes. Don't push the big red button that says don't push. Well, what does it do? Just don't push it. Oh, now I have to push it. Zach.
Yeah, I'm right-handed, so I'd rather just pull the right one right now.
So you've changed your mind from left to right?
Yes, I would love to change my mind to right.
Great. So now you guys get to know you've done you've had your conversation however long it wants to go, and you're now going to make your decision. So you come back, you're at the UI, it's still prompting you, you broke out of the room, you come back, and it says, change decision or, stick with your choice. So continue with same
2-2
choice.
now, right?
What's that?
I said it's 2-2 now, right?
As
that
far as
correct?
remaining people. So Zach, you have now changed yours to no from yes, or
Zach wasn't object before, so no one has
never
changed
mind.
their mind.
Okay, everybody's just sticking to it. All right.
I have a quick comment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's
Go ahead,
relevant.
please.
Should we make a note to maybe include the previous choice when prompted to?
Yeah, I
say
mean,
what
in
to
the
change?
text, it'll say you chose this. Do you want to stick with this or change? Yeah, that would be in the text. I agree. All right, so we come back. Everybody's making the same choice. You go into the wait queue. Everybody's back. Everybody's indicated they're okay with their choice. We now go into the take action. And so those of you who said you object, we would have dialogue that basically says you step back a few feet and watch while the others pull the lever. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes.
All right, so first we'll start with the person who pulled the left, because that's the one we were objecting to. He was the action taker. So you guys are like, I'm stepping away from this. And oh, Doug, you want to say something?
Yeah. And making this as like neutral as possible for when the mod god is building. So they would have to write the condition of
Right. If there's a
the
risk
objectors.
threshold, if the risk threshold is, let's say, 5 instead of 1, they need to say, okay, for those who want to object, you need to have a pop-up dialogue for the objectors to do something differently. So instead of charging the room and stabbing the guy, stay by the doorway. Instead of pulling the lever with the group, step back a few feet to see what happens, right? Something like that. We'll have to have that kind of logic prompted whenever there's a risk factor involved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay. So we want to make sure, Valerie, we've got that for our Mod God tool set. All right. So pulling the lever, Trevor. Who are the two others who's pulling lever with them?
Myself.
Dario.
Okay, Drake and who?
Dario.
Okay, so Drake, Dario, and Trevor, you guys are collectively pulling the lever, correct?
This is correct.
All right, rest of
Yes.
you step
Same
back a
time,
few
yep.
feet. The three of you, to your horror, you realize that this dummy lever was a trap. Although it looked like a handle, it was in fact a wax-coated sword blade, and it has now cut your hand badly. Did you use your right or left hand? Roll one die. Okay, so each of you roll a six-sided or any die, and
Yeah.
tell me.
D2.
So an odd number. We just need to know odd or even. Put that in the text chat. if you rolled odd or even.
And how will you tell me what option you're on, the number?
In this 243? Yeah, they pull the left lever, they go to 243.
Okay.
They pull the left lever. Okay. So everybody roll and then write in the chat where they rolled odd or even. I only see 3 people so far.
That was it, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yep. Sorry. All right. If the number you rolled is odd, this was your sword hand, and your fighting prowess has been severely hampered. Lose 3 skill points and 1 stamina. Drake, you don't have a character, so for now, just put -3 skill, -1 stamina. If you rolled an even number, you used your other hand, and so the injury is not quite so important. You lose 1 skill point and 2 stamina. If you now wish to pull the right lever, turn to 1, or if you don't wish to pull the right lever, you won't be getting much further, and remember which hand you will use. So now we are going to 128, as the 3 other smug people stand by watching you bandage your hand. The other 3 of you did not lose any fingers. Yay! Or cut your hand. I guess it's not lost, but cut. All right, 128, as you pull the right lever now. You hear a deep rumbling noise and the ground begins to shudder. Slowly and noisily, the portcullis rises to the ceiling. You may now walk into the junction. Will you turn west or east? That's the choice we'll leave it at for this time. We finally got past the portcullis. Yay! But do you see how that worked? Did everybody feel good about that process now that we've worked it out?
Yep.
That seemed pretty good to me. And then obviously, as players play through it more, it'll become more seamless.
Yeah, debug it, yeah.
But it seems pretty good.
But you see how that gives you that sense of agency? Because Trevor was going to make this decision. Some of you are like, I don't want this to happen to my character. That's where you end up with all kinds of strife. But in this case, you just go, I'm just going to opt out. I'm not going to do that. Let's see what happens. And you don't really hurt the relationship of the group as much, right? You just go, yeah, I disagree. Okay, I respectfully disagree. I'm not going to do that. I protect my character. And maybe you're wrong. Maybe something else happens, right? That because you stepped out and the other person benefited. But at least you have the agency of controlling your own character, right? Even though this book is written for one player, we're trying to logic out a group working together. Everybody feel pretty good about how we avoided the tyranny of the majority and that we gave enough agency while still working together as a collective group? Valerie, let's go through and check in with each person here quickly, and then I got to go to my other meetings.
Okay, Zach.
Oh yeah, that definitely worked. I know all my friends would have trolled me right there.
Drake.
Just a question. Correct me if I'm wrong, but with a trap like that, does it make sense for it to affect everyone that agreed with him pulling the lever, and so we all pull the lever for something like that?
Because of the nature of this particular adventure, we do things collectively like that. That may not always be the case in the actual adventure, but
okay.
Remember, this is a solo adventure book. So we do, whatever decisions are made, the group that makes it affects all PCs that make that choice. This is not set up for, so that's why we had to logic that out, because that's not normally there. But good question. Anything else?
It seems like a good process other than that.
Okay. All right, next.
Trevor.
Yes.
Luke.
I'm here. Sorry, I was just pushing into the repo. What's up?
We're asking how you feel about this process.
Oh, I like it. It's pretty good. I had fun.
Doug.
I think it's very good.
I think it adds a not trivial amount of complexity, but I like that because I think it provides more reward to the non-combat parts of the game potentially, which is worth it.
Yep.
Dario.
Yeah, pretty much what Doug said. He summed it up. He summed it up well.
I mean, that's everyone.
All right, cool. All right, let's take a break. I got to switch to my other meeting. I don't know if I'll be able to make it back. Go ahead. You guys can discuss this more if you want. Otherwise, switch to whichever you want to work flow chart next, whether it's the GM tool, the module writer tool, whatever you guys, but you guys can handle that. You've got an idea of the process now. You should be able to move forward with that without me. And then I'll come in and sanity check that when you guys make progress. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a lot of fun. If I can't pop back in, I'll see you all next week.
Okay.
Okay, 5-minute break. We'll be back 11, I guess we'll say 24.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave this stream running for you guys. I won't be able to stream the admin meeting.
Okay, technically we are officially back, but we'll wait half a second to make sure we've got everyone.
All right, I have returned.
I'm back. Let me set my base down.
I'm back.
Ow. I thought this thing I wanted to do over the break, because I'm taking a class on how to do stuff like this. I think it's kind of funny. A machine learning with Python class. I want to write an AI that like spots out of like a data set of pictures of cars, certain models of cars. You need like a giant data set to do it though.
Well, couldn't you have it set like look for these features of it,
Yeah, like I'm thinking like a logo would probably be the best.
or maybe even like if you're looking like for a Toyota, just for example, but like don't Toyotas have like certain like make and models, like they all overall all kind of like look the same, so you could like look for this outline of a car or whatever.
Yeah, I'm thinking something like that. Or like, let's say you use a Tesla, you have like the logos, like all the cameras, like they're pretty noticeable only to those cars.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, like insert any car, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was neat.
Okay. So we are now gonna wireframe for the process for substituting genres for the mod gods. So Zach, why don't you take the wireframing for this?
Okie dokie.
Be sure to pull, by the way, push the newest change.
Well, he's making a completely
Oh,
new
so
one,
yeah,
so it doesn't matter.
It's not the same. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they are all XML. It's bizarre. My system is showing differentiation for some reason. It's weird. I mean, it opens fine with the tool.
Okay. Can everybody see this one?
Yep.
Okay. So what does it start with? Like, what is this? Wait, so load tool set. Oops. And oh man, it's been a while since I did this. I don't even remember how we start this out.
So Hawk did suggest running the Aurora toolset alongside to kind of get a basic framework of steps.
I mean, as soon as you load it, asks you, would you like to continue previous module or create a new one? I remember that's a whole thing it does.
So something like a load module, create new.
Like load module, create new, recent.
So I guess a diamond, right? You have two choices.
Oh, so it's continue.
Or I'll just do load or create new. That might be
True.
simplest.
Okay. Oh, man, this is kind of rough. I'm having to tab through so many things.
I would think if we were creating a new module, it would just like we'd have like a little wizard if we'd want.
True.
Yeah.
Well, the wizard in Neverwinter Nights asks you what terrain you want first. So
Although we're not really
Maybe,
doing terrain, so it would kind of skip over that wizard.
yeah, well,
Maybe a
no, but
wizard
just
with
other.
just like basic module templates.
Or maybe just a process box notifying that we did do the wizard without having to go into details what the wizard does.
yeah, because we're not really sure like all the tools we wanted. Well, we're gonna have like multiple wizards, right? Want to create a bunch of stuff, or at least well, we're kind of like going through creating one right now, huh? So
Yeah, that would be like a
We are the wizard.
predefined
Right.
process, but we'd need another process diagram probably for that one, I would think.
Yeah.
load.
Oh, I know what it could do. Maybe like if you just had to create a new one, it would ask number of intended genres for default, and it would ask you questions like risk threshold, intended, stuff like that. Just to get out of the way.
Party size.
It would have like a little description of each.
Well, do we envision this being like a map, you know, where you have sort of text descriptions and actions, potential combat in each area of the map? I mean, I know it's just text based, but
Well,
What if it's act based?
do we want it to be act based? I mean, oh, that'd be kind of. Well, we're thinking about making like the mod gods doing it, creating their own module right now. So maybe we shouldn't focus on our modules and like kind of leave it up to them to decide what they want to do.
I'm just thinking like some sort of like big, large chunks of things make it a lot easier to organize and like use.
Well, here, why don't we just do like a wizard prompts user to load preset module, right? That's what we want the wizard to do. We'll load
Or like a template.
or a template. Yeah, you're right. Template.
you could use a map structure even if it's not a literal map in terms of like progress through the narrative or something. Although it's not linear, right? So you definitely don't want like a linear story structure.
I like that idea.
Yeah, and I think I remember Godot being organized by scenes.
Yeah, so they would just be like scenes.
Right. So I guess that would be a reasonable way to organize it.
Or like even like Unity or Unreal, they all have scenes and levels.
All right, so let's see. So it would prompt them to load a template if we wanted to create a new one, but if they wanted to load it, then it would go into the load process, right?
Right.
Previous one. We can just leave that there.
I don't know if this is getting too in depth or not, but for an actual check if there's a valid module, and if not, then return to load or create new module.
Yeah, check if is null always.
Okay. Can I put like a thing in between here? Sure, why not? Let's move this. Oopsie. Didn't mean to do that. There we go.
I don't know if would it be a process, that box right there? because I don't think the user's doing anything.
Would it be a diamond? Not triangle. Parameter check.
Would it be a triangle? All right.
So, are we going to be opening a file explorer with the load of create new modules so there's more flexibility, or are we going to have a module folder?
That's a good question.
I would say File Explorer in my opinion, but it depends on what we can do.
I imagine some sort of file explorer would work. It just
The
it would-
universal built-in one for your operating system.
yeah.
Okay, because I was like, I don't want to have to write a whole new one if we can just implement what already exists.
Yeah. Well, and that would save us work and be very flexible.
Plus, the user would already most likely know to use it.
And I think that would actually be more of a file explorer for module, and if no module selected, return.
Yeah.
All right, so if this is no, then it goes back to loading the tool set, right? There we go.
Or just load or create new module. Just that menu.
Oh, yeah. Oops. And I'm just going to delete this. There we go. Okay. Oops.
And if it's true, just go down to the bottom.
Which probably didn't do it. Oh, well, I deleted it. Oops. Okay. So then after this, so after it prompts them to load a template or they've loaded their previous module, where we go from here. So then
Maybe the only difference between them is when you've loaded, from a process point of view, is when you've loaded a previous, you can choose from an area that's already existing. But then otherwise, you're going to have the similar edit options, right?
Yeah, it's still the same tool set.
Another condition for loading is if they select a file. If we're using a file explorer, that is not a valid type.
True. Don't want them to select a Word document, man. I don't think that would work.
Like it must be whatever file extension we decide to use. It can't be like a raw or a
I think we could put that in
project.
like triangle right here. Like we could just put it in like parentheses or something. It's like must be correct file type or something.
Right. Well, we would also want to show an error message.
True.
Like a pop-up, hey, that's not the right file type. Please try again.
That would be a rectangle, wouldn't it? I think so, right? Oops. How do you make arrows do it again? You have to like add a waypoint. Forgot about it. I know how this works. Whatever. I'll just leave it there for now until I remember how to do it. There it is. Oops. Okay. Um. So, all right. So now from here, I guess they're in the tool set, right? So that would be
And
similar.
what are the main things they would be doing? Because they're going to be modifying the data. That's one of the things I can tell. But what else would the mod gods have to do?
Custom assets.
True. If they have any custom assets, they're gonna have to add them. Well, how do we want them to add them in? Like, because if we're gonna do like
Just
file,
import them from File Explorer?
yeah. So if we're gonna use File Explorer, yeah, they can just
Because like
import.
that's outside the scope of like having like an art program or something in here.
Right.
Sure.
We would just have a button that is like import assets or
We can
something.
recommend programs, but we can't like be like, hey, like let's put this in here.
Also, asset creation tool, just to like create, say, a weapon. Because when I'm saying assets, I don't mean like graphics or anything.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant, like prefabs and stuff. So that would be like all the JSON stuff we were talking about earlier, kind of.
Right. Well, and then that gets in just a creation interface, like we mentioned way earlier.
Okay, so we just want to put it like, I don't know, tool set interface, because there's going to be a lot of tools in the tool set, and we don't know which one they're going to pick or go to instantly. So
Tool set interface selection process, and maybe that's its own separate document with
Yeah.
each of the things.
I feel like that would, because we'd have to.
And then from those, we can make smaller documents.
Okay, so then. Okay. Oh wait, and then let's add the import stuff. So.
Oh, that's part of the interface, I would
Okay.
imagine. I think from there, the only thing would be like save module and exit.
Okay, so then it'd be save or delete module. Or do you want, yeah, so.
And then that would just recursively return to the toolset interface.
Oopsie. Let's see. So what else would it be outside of the toolset interface? Because the toolset interface, I feel like that's a lot of processes that could fit in there. So Let's see.
Save and exit, delete.
Okay, yeah, exit. Would save and exit just be inside the save module? Could we just put it in there, or
You can exit without saving.
exactly? So that's why I'm thinking the save and exit might be inside the save module, so you wouldn't need to make another one for that. The exit would just be a prompt, right? It's not really a process. Just like, do you want to leave? And that's it.
Oh, do you want to exit without saving or something?
True. Okay, so that would probably be like a prompt or something. Okay. Let's see. Oh, something that we didn't do is what they want to, if they ever want to name their module, we didn't make something for that.
We could prompt that with the wizard for creating a new module.
Yes, we could. Okay, so let's move this over.
Like before that, it would be.
Yeah, it would be before. Okay, so. Oh, gotta move things around. Oops, caps lock. And then this would go over here. Okay, and then what other things does Neverwinter Nights have that we could?
The rest of the wizards Neverwinter Night specific, like terrain and module, like map size.
True, but that, I think the wizard would cover all of that. So then, I'm trying to think like what would the toolset interface not cover?
I mean, it wouldn't cover anything unless you wanted it to, like about the actual story creation. Maybe that should be its own separate thing.
Yeah, I feel
Without-
like that should be its own. Well, do we want? Do we want them to be able to edit I mean, in Neverwinter Nights, you can edit conversations and stuff. So, would we want it to do the same thing? I mean, but that's not really that's just kind of interaction. let's see. Well, I feel like this is kind of like, I feel like this is kind of good enough, I guess. If we want to add more, we can. But if we, everything else kind of like is kind of covered by the interface. So I guess kind of like what maybe we should start defining like the kind of processes we want on the interface.
Like if we made a separate file, and even if we didn't do them today, we just listed every single thing we could do in the future.
True.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, because I can't really think of anything to add to this right now.
Because even testing it out would be in the interface, right?
Yeah.
Like when you build it and test it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is good for now. So then what do we want to make the next one? So the next one would be, how do we want them to...
Mod got options.
True. Okay, so all right, let's rename this. 1 second. Where to put all this? Oh, whoops. No, we'll just go to the... There we go. What is this? Mod God. This is Mod God tool set. What is the date? 1/23. Oh, that's not how we do dates. It's the 23rd. All right. Okay, so then should we make a new one, and then this will go into, and this one will be like the tool set interface, and then it'll be like a list of all the interfaces we want to eventually add. Like they'll all be their own processes, but yeah.
Maybe we can make like an Odoo message of everything. So for next meeting, maybe.
Yeah, it might be better to work on the larger thing next meeting. Just because we only have 7 minutes, and I don't want us to hop into something and get like 2 boxes in and then be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can work in Odoo right now and kind of list all the processes that we are going to need to make for this.
Okay. So first one, do we want to do yeah, we're not going to do terrain because there's no, so maybe we do scenes. Like scenes would be a good one, like a backdrop for, since it's going to be mostly text based, so they're not just staring at a black screen. So we can do like scenes as one.
I put the asset creation interface and like, just like the whole grammar and like language Mad Lib stuff could be its own thing.
True.
Because if those were separated, that'd be really annoying when they're very similar going in between them.
Yeah. So then would be, so then asset creation. And do we want asset creation to include like maybe NPCs, or do we want that to just be items and stuff for now?
I feel like characters should be their own, maybe subtype of asset.
Okay, so we'll just separate them. It might be like easier. 'Cause I feel like NPCs might have a little more, well, depending on the story, but still. Yeah, we should probably keep the characters separate. So then asset creation, scenes asset creation. Okay, then the Mad Libs. So story. But what do we want to? Story, and then I guess we could do what's it called? Like add what do you call them? Dang. Like waypoints or checkpoints or something. You could to add uh
Like story marks or something.
yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
Events.
Events, yeah, that's probably a better. That's probably a better way to put it. Yeah. That way, events could cover things like, I don't know, like the risk factor stuff. Uh, Events could be like the how prompts and stuff happen. It could also be how you change between scenes, do events and stuff. So yeah, that's probably better.
Right, we can do a flow chart for that individually.
Uh-huh. And then let's see. What is something else? Sounds, I guess. Would that be part of assets though? That'd probably be like a something assets. Uh,
Maybe we should start calling assets items, because to me at least, weapons and items just seem like, in-game objects.
yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. So items are its own thing. Characters will probably be its own thing. Scenes are its own thing. And we have events. Is there anything else we need to think about? I think that kind of covers largely everything.
Are we using the same process for NPCs that we would use for player characters?
That is a good question.
I don't know what process you guys have for player characters, but my guess would be to simplify it.
The Aurora toolset had NPCs as game objects, which would work especially if this is really just a limited branching system for us.
I would think that would work. The only thing I would think is, what if you had just a generic character creator that's still, you could choose to do NPC or PC? I know with like Cyberpunk 2020, that's what they do for the role playing. Like you have to roll separate NPCs, but it's a lot easier for the NPCs because they're more like objects in the game.
Right. You don't need to detail them as much.
Yeah, like you don't need to know their whole backstory if you're gonna shoot them.
Right. You can have just like a parent object of character and then branch that to player character and NPC.
Yeah.
So we would put the NPC character creation under the character process, but have a basically like a storage for it under object creation. Is that right?
That makes the most sense to me because it consolidates both of those into the same thing.
Right, because an NPC and a character are, from a story
still
perspective,
characters.
similar, but not identical.
Yeah, that seems good to me. I mean, I like it that we kept it simple, and it's not like 50 billion bajillion tabs of stuff.
It's not Unreal Engine where like there's 1,000 different things for everything.
5 tabs, man, and that's it. Like, and that kind of covers everything you're gonna need to create a module. So, I feel like keeping it simple like that, at least for now, is good. And like Hawk said, eventually down the line, we can add more whenever.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. That'll cover it for today then. Don't forget to log out your attendance, and we'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
See you guys next week.
Bye.
I'm actually like push something on GitHub. How do I do that real quick?
So if you log on to our GitHub, essentially what you can do is if you've pulled the entire master, just add your wireframe to that file, and then you can do a pull request. You go to that pull request tab, hit new pull request, upload everything, and then it'll request permission. I think you can just approve it. If you can't, then I can.
Okay. 1 second. I'm already on GitHub and all that. I just gotta go through all this. Okay, so add, upload. Uploads are disabled. Okay. Okay, so I go to add file. All right, but I can't upload it. I can't upload it. So I can't give myself permissions.
Are you on the pull request tab?
Oh no. Oops. That was wrong.
Yeah. So that's where you'll add everything.
Okay, so oops. Okay, there's wireframes. Okay, so then I create a pull request, and then does it even matter what I name it? Just
I think you can just name it master.
okay. Oh, hang on, I I gotta find it again. I accidentally closed it. Oh, I have to zip the thing again. Wait, do I? I'm so lost.
Okay, maybe we'll try a different way. So protected. So supposedly one way you can do it is just drag and drop the file into the folder from the main code tab.
Really?
That's what it's telling me. It's possible this is protected though, in which case that would not work out. And you said you can't just upload a file.
Nope, it says uploads are disabled.
Okay. In that case,
Oh, file uploads require push access to this repository.
I feel like you should have that access. Okay, let me see. Another way to do it maybe is to create a branch. In which case, there should at the top left corner be a branch menu. It's that drop down. And you can just type in whatever you want to name it. I don't think that the name will change from master, so you can literally just name it adding wireframe or whatever. And then you create the branch and you should be able to add that file into it, and then I'll merge the two.
Oh, okay. It says you're making changes in a project you don't have write access to.
Okay. It sounds like then we just need to get you access, which I am not an admin on this account, so I can't really do it. But if you just want to email me that wireframe thing, I'll upload it, and we'll try to get Hawk or Nick to give you GitHub access.
Okay. I'll email it to you. Oh wait, I can just send it on Odoo. I have Odoo.
Yeah, you can do that as well.
Oh, gotcha. There we go. Oh, never. Oh wait, I have to zip. I keep forgetting. Okay. Never mind. There we go. Okay, send it to you on Odoo.
Okay, got it. Okay, I will upload that, so we should be all set.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks a bunch.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'll see you next week.
See ya.